Hi, I'm Ludwig and this is my in-depth review of the free-to-play version of Destiny 2 for the PlayStation 4. I rate games with a self-engineered rating system. If you want to know how this system works, you'll find a link to an explaining video in the description. Back to the review.
Let's begin.
Let's start with the atmosphere, which is a combination of the graphics and the sound.
It's a power play. You took them, now hold them.
Destiny 1 was already pretty beautiful, but Destiny 2 of course raised that quality once again. The colors are vibrant, and if you adjust the contrast to an even darker tone, the underground missions feel really creepy. It is not the best graphics I've seen in a shooter, but still way above average. The weapon models are nicely done, with enough detail work to distinguish them from one and the other. Utility moves not only look awesome, they are also pretty bass heavy and well delivered. The weapon sound is fantastic as usual, and the sound feedback for hitting and or killing enemies works great via headphones or even TV speakers, and gives you this special feeling of accomplishment. The ambient sound is also pretty awesome and dynamic, but I encountered several sound bugs where the whole ambient sound was gone, and sometimes all sound disappeared, even for longer periods of 10 to 15 seconds, if not longer. This happened in PvE as well as in PvP. And losing sound in PvP can be game breaking. In this case, however, it was just annoying, but annoying enough to give it 3 instead of 4 points. Immersion or story. If you combine good visuals with good sound and add the story I already talked about in my early review, it gets a bit weird. And the mood killer actually is the voice lines, or rather, the narrative design. Destiny 2 feels a lot like recent Marvel movies like Thor 3 or Guardians of the Galaxy 2. It's like they've noticed that comedy can be a good way to hook players into a story. And granted, they had some good jokes and comedy moments in Destiny 1. But the game always maintained this dark and serious undertone. And you need that in order to deliver jokes while keeping it grounded.
Get your rock off my map.
In Destiny 2, however, it seems like they tried to achieve the same goal, but overdid it with the comedy part. Now not only Cade is the comedian, but everyone else is a clown as well. There is nearly no mission without a joke or silly comment from one of the characters. And at least for me that killed the mood, because the story becomes ridiculous. And that's a shame, because they've really tried to deliver a story this time, but killed it with silly jokes.
Fallen have tracked us to Nessus. They have the Exodus Black on lockdown and damaged fail-safe systems in their raid. Both are key assets to our endeavors here. Operation Piccolo has begun.
Piccolo? Really?
We don't have to call it that. We'll give it a better name. Later.
And even though they tried really hard on delivering a good story, they failed. Because the story is even shorter than the one from the prequel. If there wouldn't be a level cap for some missions, you would finish the whole story in one day. And since I mostly played PvP in the beginning, I reached the level 20 cap before I reached the third mission. So for me it took literally just one day to finish the whole main story. I had another day and all side quests were done as well, which is one story arc per planet for a total of 4 planets. And after that, the game gives you another mission you can't beat unless you got the DLC. The enemies are actually invulnerable. All that's left after that are the exotic missions, which are pretty long and more grinding than missions, so there's no story behind it. Only 2 points for that. The gameplay. Having big open spaces is usually a good thing, and the way they are trying to deliver the story this time is actually pretty good and has much improved since the precursor title. You find awesome looking swords in every open world area, which can be activated for a patrol or story mission. Also, the story missions are mostly located in the open world now, which eradicates the need of flying back to orbit after every mission you've played, which was a big bummer in Destiny 1. The loading times, however, are still one of the longest loading times I've ever encountered. The engram drop rates feel a lot slower in PvE, and the weapon stats for the base items aren't randomized now, but static, which enables a much more balanced PvP and PvE experience. But ever since Forsaken arrived, you now also get Forsaken items which reintroduce the randomized stats and traits, which is a bummer. I think good PvP should always have static weapon traits which are identical for all players and also available for all players. This way there'll always be a baseline of balance since everyone is treated equally. But this is actually a common problem across the genre. Now the negative stuff. For instance, it takes forever to get the vehicle in this time around. Even though the open world feels much bigger in scale, they're mostly empty, so the first hours or even days in the game feel like a walking simulator. Hell, in some missions you even walk more than you should. Once you've got a vehicle, this problem is gone, but I don't understand why it takes the game so long before it gives you one. I even got my vehicle through the Eververse merchant after I hit level 20, but long before you would get it the regular way, which is after the main story, and you have to pay for it, of course. And the game always reminds you that you haven't got the DLC. It also tries to make you believe that you need the DLC in order to get certain items, which in some cases isn't true. And this is bad and good at the same time. For example, with the Forsaken DLC, they have also introduced a new weapon type, the bow. The bow fits perfect into the gameplay. Slow but powerful, if you got the right aim. And playing PvP, you'll often get killed by them. So afterwards you might think, heck, I want a bow like that. So you go into your weaponry, you check out all the bows there, and you'll find and notice that these weapons are only available with the Forsaken DLC. But this is a lie, since you can nearly get all the Forsaken only items with random drops or as a reward from playing PvP or leveling up your Vanguard rank. And this is really awesome! Well done, Bungie! Only exceptions are the Forsaken Exarchs, of course, like the Aces of Spades, and this is a bummer, but I don't say you should be able to get all the exclusive items from Forsaken for free, but at least they should be balanced enough in order to ensure a good PvP experience. For now, if you're facing a full Aces of Spades team in the PvP match, you most likely fucked. Except if your team got some Forsaken players as well, which rarely happens, since the gun only takes 2 shots in order to kill you. But again, this is the mostly annoying but actually not game breaking yet. The same counts for the Iron Banner. Since level advantages are available in the Iron Banner event, you most likely always have a disadvantage against Forsaken players. The usual PvP modes are actually tough to evaluate. I either crushed the enemy really hard or I got crushed really hard. There was literally no evenly balanced match, not even in the competitive mode. In the lower ranks you Rambo your way through the enemy lines, and in higher ranks you always seem to match against full Spartan teams aligned perfectly in the phalanx. Maybe I should quit playing with randoms and get some real friends. Therefore, the overall gameplay gets 3 points. The controls are, as I've already mentioned in my early review, pretty awesome. It took me about 3 hours to adjust to the slower playstyle, but once you've reached that point, the gameplay feels fluent and awesome. The gunplay is one of the best on the market, and combined with the hitting feedback, it's really a blast to play. Best in slot for that slower type of shooter. 5 points. Performance. Long loading times in the orbit, nearly no loading times when you already have boots on the ground. Except for the sound issue, I did not encounter any other performance issues, so I give 4 points for performance.
Oh, a barrier. This planet loves barriers. Zavala, I think they're trying to contain the Red Legion.
The difficulty might be one of the worst things within Destiny 2. Except for the first strikes, which I played with a lower light level than recommended, I nearly never had any problems. The enemies are usually pretty dumb. If you keep moving for a little bit, the enemies most likely miss you with every shot, I think I killed myself more times by falling off a cliff or killing myself with a badly timed grenade than by the hands of my enemies. And even the first raid felt kinda dumb and boring and was far too easy. 2 points.
Oh, look! Look! It's a Vex Milk waterfall! Can we stop and... Aww.
And of course, the game has microtransactions.
Welcome to Eververse.
But I must say they've improved since Destiny 1, but in some cases also got worse. The good part is that you can get all the items even without spending any real money. But it will take you quite some time and requires a lot of grinding. There are weapon drops within the Eververse system, however all usable items are downgraded to a level 10 light level and are pretty useless except for PvP. For me personally, there should never be usable items within a microtransaction system. Only cosmetics, because otherwise there will always be a tiny bit of advantage to those who pay extra. Since the microtransactions aren't game breaking, I give 3 points. It's an MMO shooter, so there is also a meta, or endgame activity to evaluate. Grinding usually is fun and you've got a lot ways to do so. Strikes, PvP, open world events and the raid. However, since it's only the base game without DLC, you'll get to the soft cap of 260 light pretty fast. I even reached that level before I had even finished the main story, since I played a lot of PvP. After a few weeks you should have all the raid gear, which will boost you up to 305 light. And that's it. From there it's only item grinding. So the DLC is actually lowered the fun of the meta for the base game, which might have happened on purpose, I'd say. Therefore I give 3 points. So the game gets a straight 3 out of 5 points rating in my review system, which means the game is not bad, but quite good and enjoyable. However, not worth the full retail price. If it wouldn't be free to play on PS4, at the moment I wouldn't recommend picking it up at all. But if you still want to become a Guardian, I recommend buying the Forsaken Edition instead, which has the base game included anyway.
You're alive, Guardian. Fight like it.
I hope you've liked my in-depth review of Destiny 2. FYI, there will soon also be an in-depth review of the Forsaken DLC, once I've fully tested out the new meta. So stay tuned as always. Thanks for watching, I'm Ludwig, see you soon. Peace out.